It's not my Gears of War beta montage, so you'll probably click on it. Hey, what's up? Your boy Dynasty, and this video is, I'm gonna try my best to not cause so much controversy because I'm seeing a lot of talk about what we're about to talk about today. Essentially, WB Games had an entire overhaul with their games division, and they restructured who's in charge of what. And Sean Himrich, who's been working from the Midway days in 2000 all the way up into recently with Mortal Kombat 1. He's essentially in charge of everything Mortal Kombat and DC moving forward in the gaming division, which is interesting because initially I was happy and excited because I was like, okay, cool, somebody from Midway, somebody that's been familiar with Mortal Kombat for a long time. Somebody that won't just piss on the legacy. Then the flip side to that was shortly after the news broke, a lot of horror stories got brought back up again from 2019 during the Mortal Kombat 11 crunch era, if you remember that. You might remember the articles mentioning how if you were working at NetherRealm during Mortal Kombat 11's production, people were getting nightmares and PTSD because casually around the office, people were watching videos of people getting decapitated, hanging. When the Injustice 2 roster got leaked, Sean Himrich was threatening people with the FBI. Completely forgot about that, so for me, I'm kind of just like, I'm gonna stand in the middle here. Don't know how this is gonna play out, but it's kind of a big deal, especially when you consider that, again, Sony in talks to potentially acquire some of these assets, these licenses from WB Games Discovery. So in today's video, doing a deep dive into that. Before we break it all down, you guys do know the drill by now. It takes you a second. Please drop a like on the video. Without you, these MK videos don't happen. With that said, let's break down everything going on with WB Games, Mortal Kombat, Injustice, and everything in between. Now, this broke yesterday, and it's right here coming from Shinobi. WB Games restructures into divisions based on 4 key franchises: Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC Universe. Teams to report to now promoted: Yves Lachance and Sean Himrich, aligned to franchises they're working on. This is actually coming from Variety.com, which I'll have linked down below. On an aside, it's kind of crazy how many Ford ads I'm getting. I already own 2 of these, and they want me to buy a 3rd, I guess. But WB Games restructures development into Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, and DC Universe divisions. Says here, per WBD, 3 current studio heads have been promoted to the role of Senior Vice President as part of the WB Games restructure. WB Games Montreal studio head Yves Lachance has been promoted to Senior Vice President, Development, overseeing the development teams working on Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, whereas NetherRealm Studios head Sean Himrich has been promoted to Senior Vice President, Development, overseeing the Mortal Kombat and DC games. So, booyah, that is essentially the takeaway from this article. As for why exactly this happened, it says here, our company is home to some of the biggest franchises in the world. We're optimizing our team structure to develop long-term franchise roadmaps to delight players and fans of Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and DC games. We're very fortunate to have a strong, stable development and technology talent. Yves and Sean and Steven are respected leaders of excellent track records in their areas of expertise. I'm looking forward to working closely with them and the team as we work to make the best games possible for our key franchises. So yeah, they're stoked about these changes they're making in their divisions. Now, initially, I first saw this over on the Thinny's Twitter account, X account. It said, Sean Himrich's been promoted to Senior Vice President, Mortal Kombat, and DC. It attaches this image from one of the behind-the-scenes looks here of Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks. And again, when I first heard the news, I was like, wait, Sean Himrich, I feel like he's been there forever. And sure enough, I believe he's been there since, again, the OG Midway days. And the discussions we're having here are, it's interesting. I heard he sucks, but no one elaborated on why. People say that under his leadership, the story was bad, but the gameplay was good. Yeah, a lot of people were saying that he was responsible for the Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks story, which I guess it's news to me that you guys hated it. I thought that was a game that we all enjoyed, but apparently a lot of you guys are coming out the woodwork saying you hated it. At least some of the fine line details of the lore that was swapped and changed. Now, I thought this exchange here was interesting. Weapon Theory saying To anybody that thinks this is a W, it isn't. It just means the same shit, different day. He was vice president, and now he's senior vice president. Hope this helps. Then he's saying he was head of production attached here. I believe this is Mortal Kombat 11 credits. You can see here, vice president, studio head, Sean Himrich. So, same shit, different day. Potentially seems to be the case. And over on the Mortal Kombat leak subreddit, I saw this post blowing up right here. It's a tweet from Rooflemonger saying, God, it never ends. Imagine NetherRealm Studios unchained by WB, constant shuffling and mismanagement. At least one of the guys in charge is a NetherRealm Studios guy, which again, I think initially, all of us were thinking this, like, okay, we got a midway guy. We got someone that's been there through every iteration era of Mortal Kombat. I mean, I don't know if he was there pre-2000, but at least he was there from, like, 3D era onwards, right? He was there for MK9 for you damn diehards, okay? And the response to this was interesting because your favorite emo says, yeah, but the issue is the guy in charge is said to be one of the people responsible for bad working conditions in NetherRealm Studios. Again, all this is alleged information, by the way. I've never worked at NetherRealm. I've never worked at WB, though I've worked for WB, small time, promoting their game. I have no proof of this other than citing these sources. So take this for what it is, okay? Sean Himrich, I've never met you, so I don't know who you are as a person, but going on here, it says, as well as prior to this being part of the odd story choices for Shaolin monks and baffling ones with 9. I didn't mind Cyber Sub-Zero. And where this gets interesting is Jandy, who used to be a dev during the Mortal Kombat 11 days at NetherRealm Studios. Jandy, who used to follow me on Twitter, interact with me, was always active until he recently, believe, left NetherRealm. He liked this tweet. A former NetherRealm Studios employee liked a tweet saying that the guy in charge, you know who, was responsible for bad working conditions. Again, that is what's being said here. I've never met the guy, but that's kind of a fucking red flag, don't you think? Now, in case you forgot just how bad things were during the whole crunch era back in 2019, there's this article right here. This is how they got away with it. Former NetherRealm Studios contract devs reveal a troubling studio culture. Former employees detail a studio culture of crunch and class division. Now, in particular, we're talking about the Injustice 2 roster leak that I talked about on my channel at the time. And again, I'm going to have this link down below. I think you guys should probably read this because, again, PC Gamer wrote about this as well back in the day. Dangling the carrots, crunch for survival, a lot of insight on how NetherRealm Studios used to operate 5-6 years ago. But this right here, I think, is the big takeaway because it talks about the newly appointed Senior Vice President, WB, for Mortal Kombat and DC Games. It says here, significant amount of burden was placed on contractors at NetherRealm, and at times, a significant amount of ire as well. One story that came up repeatedly during our investigation was a meeting that was called during the development of Injustice 2. A couple months before launch, a major leak for Injustice 2 found its way online, and according to our sources, NetherRealm President Sean Himrich called in the contractors for an emergency meeting regarding the leak. I want to say it was like concept art got leaked back in 2017. Yeah, it was like maybe 2 or 3 months before the game came out. I remember that. It was a very exciting time to talk about that. I wasn't the only one, by the way. Several of us did. These quotes are crazy, though. That CEO leak meeting was scary, said one source present about the meeting. We were unfairly blamed, almost dragged out of our chairs for an immediate meeting to discuss NDA issues. His tone was absolutely unprofessional. Another source called the meeting demoralizing. It was just awful. I felt like we were just corralled into a room to be screamed at. It was disturbing. People were upset and crying, and I was really shocked that it happened. There were a bunch of leads and full-time employees just standing there with their arms crossed, looking angry, and the head of the studio yelled at us about these leaks and basically told us we've lost millions of dollars in marketing. Our sources who were present at the meeting also recall that Himrich pitted us against each other, basically saying, you guys should be investigating this, you know? One of you guys did this. One of our sources present recalls Himrich telling the group, one of your coworkers in this room is literally fucking you right now. It was humiliating to get grouped in a room and get screamed at by the studio head Sean Himrich, recalls a third source. We were threatened with legal action and being blacklisted in the industry. Don't they love blacklisting people if you just speak your mind? It's crazy. Two other sources claimed Himrich threatened that a security team comprising of FBI agents were investigating the leak, possibly as a fear tactic. What upset me about the meeting was that the permanent employees of NetherRealm Studios did not get the same talking down to. The temp workers were made a scapegoat. We were treated like second-class citizens. Again, this is 3 different sources breaking down how this went down in this meeting after the Injustice 2 roster got leaked. I want to say it was probably like the final 7 characters, 6 characters, something like that. It was like a fourth of the roster, so from what I can recall based on my head. I haven't talked about or thought about Injustice 2 leaks in a minute, but, you know, is it justified? I mean, I would probably want my lead to be this passionate about the project, especially when it's getting leaked like that. However, you're still in a workplace, a professional environment. Like, this isn't the Midway days. This isn't a mom and pop studio with your friends. It's not a small dev team. Like, this is Warner Bros. This is WB Games. WB Games having their lead threatening FBI agents. I guess it all makes sense why WB stopped working with me. They probably have the FBI fucking on top of my roof right now trying to see if I'm gonna leak the Injustice 3 release date. Now that I think about it, it all kind of makes sense why they don't like me. And again, in case you forgot, Kotaku wrote this article. To have these extremely graphic dreams, what it's like to work on the ultra-violent games like Mortal Kombat 11. Now, this excerpt really just sets the tone for the rest of what we're going to go over right here. It says, I'd have these extremely graphic dreams, very violent. I kind of just stopped wanting to go to sleep, so I just keep myself awake for days at a time to avoid sleeping. Eventually, the dev says they saw a therapist and they were diagnosed with PTSD. MK11, not just the content of the game, and having to process and discuss its violent cinematics frame by frame, but also being surrounded by the reference materials artists used for research. You'd walk around the office and one guy would be watching hangings on YouTube, another guy would be looking at pictures of murder victims, someone else would be watching a video of a cow being slaughtered. The scary part was always the point at which new people on the project got used to it, and I definitely hit that point. Mortal Kombat's Mortal Kombat, the anonymous cinematics dev who had a graphic dream told me, you start to feel like an idiot for thinking about the impact of working on that game has had on yourself. Other people I've talked to have been like, I know what I'm working on, I know what I've gotten myself into here, and you start to blame yourself for being shitty or weak or spineless. Could you imagine that? Blaming yourself for being fucked with after having to go into the workplace and see cows getting slaughtered on the regular? I don't think that's a you problem. I think that's just a very normal human reaction. I'm just saying. The closing to this is crazy. Eventually, the dev found out about coworkers who had similar problems with the content as they did, who also left. One coworker, for example, told them the toll of working on MK11 was horrible images in real life. When he looked at his dog, he just sees the guts inside of it, and he couldn't look at his dog without imagining all the viscera. What a great work environment. But hey, maybe that'll change with Sony, PlayStation buying the Mortal Kombat license. Hot off the press right here this afternoon. Sony wants to buy WB Games assets. A new report claims the gaming assets include Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and DC Comics. It's coming from PushSquare.com. funny enough, they're actually citing SC Scoops here. Says WB is going through a period of upheaval, and apparently that's got Sony sniffing. To be honest, website SC Scoops may not be the most recognizable website, but it's citing sources which claim the Japanese manufacturer is interested in scooping up its new WB streaming and studios business, which is being spun off from the rest of WB Discovery, with a completion expected in mid-2026. According to the website, Sony is interested in acquiring HBO Max and the firm's gaming assets, which will all fall under the umbrella of this new company. The electronics maker has been gradually reinventing itself as an entertainment giant over the past few years. So, you know, we'll see how legit this is. It seems like we've been hearing about WB Games selling off some of their assets and licenses or divisions for like 5 or 6 years now. Sometimes it's Microsoft, now it's Sony, but again, we'll see what happens. Is it legit? Time will tell, but I don't think it would necessarily hurt if somebody else was in control of Mortal Kombat. I'm just being honest. But guys, that's essentially all I got for y'all today. It's an interesting time to be a fan of Mortal Kombat, even Injustice, because no clue what the future holds for us. I want to say, in my heart of hearts, if I was a betting man, I would assume Injustice 3 is next, given that Sean Himrich's in charge of both Mortal Kombat and the DC games now. That overlaps there with Injustice. Does that mean MK versus DC2? Does Sean make it happen? I don't know. I'm sure in the next coming months, we'll probably have more of an idea what to expect after the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. But until then, I'm crossing my fingers and hope, you know, I'm hoping things get better, but don't know how to feel. I was excited about this change, but it really seems like not much of a change. Really just the same thing we've already had. So we'll see how this goes. Again, it's been a day with this change. I don't know. John Tobias, he's just sitting there. John Tobias is just sitting there. Isn't that a shame? Seeing him work on the MK Legacy Collection with Boone and the team was amazing in that small trailer, the announcement trailer for that. What a missed opportunity if Tobias doesn't come back into the fold and has a say in the lore, the story, the creation of not even just Mortal Kombat, but even the Injustice franchise, right? Like, that just seems like a no-brainer. I'm gonna leave it at that. Wonder how Boone feels about this. Again, OG Midway staff getting that upgrade, but yeah, I don't know, man. Sony buying Mortal Kombat, I could get behind that. We'll see what happens. Also, in case you missed it, I think most of you missed it because no one's watched it, seems. Go watch my Gears of War beta montage. I spent all yesterday editing that. So if you go watch that, I'd really appreciate it because I put my heart and soul into that. So do me a solid. Please go watch that. I love you forever. Anyways, guys, what do y'all think of this? Do you think this is a step in the right direction, the wrong direction? What do you think of the articles from 2019 we did a deep dive into real quick? Did you forget about that? Do you think that the writing's on the wall and it just continues to go downhill? We'll find out in due time, but at the very least, at least they got the Arcade Legacy Collection back. That is back. We got the classic MK games back. Modern netcode. We still have those 4 games that we don't know what they're going to be. Assuming they're probably going to be some, you know, classic games of that era. I still think it'll probably be Mortal Kombat Gold, Trilogy, probably Special Forces and Mythologies. But hey, maybe it's a 3D era game. I don't think so, but we'll see. But guys, I love you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't go bother anybody on X. Just like I mentioned when we show you guys like Todd Gardner's tweets, like, don't bother anybody. Just let it play out. Most of us are just watching from the sidelines. We don't work in the actual, you know, fucking game industry in terms of, like, we're not developers and artists. We're not actually there, you know? So let's just kind of see how this unfolds. Don't bother anybody, please. I love you guys. Trying to be optimistic, but it's hard to be with the state of the franchise. But again, we got the Legacy Collection. please don't fuck it up. See you guys later. Peace.